And I'm joined this morning by three people who've got significant experience in all of this. In the middle here, Catherine Skeggs is a group travel organiser, regularly taking her London-based group, the City Adventurers, there's a clue in the title, on visits to a remarkably wide range of destinations, visitor attractions and other experiences. However, Catherine is chair of ACTO's Eastern Branch and a board director of ACTO itself. So, good morning, Catherine. At the ACTO AGM held earlier this year, one GTO commented that spending the day at a theme park, riding on the roller coasters, or perhaps abseiling down the Tottenham Hotspur football stadium building, which is quite impressive, probably wasn't really suitable for her group. And Catherine responded by saying that was exactly what her group enjoyed doing. And it was a reminder, wasn't it, Catherine, that while many groups enjoy visiting a garden centre and enjoying a nice cuppa, many groups, regardless of age, still want to find experiences that are different and therefore memorable. But is the supplier side noting all this? We'll find out in a moment. I'm also pleased to welcome next to me Colin Duncan. Colin is the co-founder, I think that's the right description, of Dunwood Travel, one of the country's leading coach operators, you told me to say. So there you are. And you'll surely have seen the blue Dunwood coaches. And Colin, together with Phil Westwood, founded Dunwood some 30 years ago. Dunwood Travel is an ACTO associate member. And in case you hadn't noticed the link, Colin's surname, Duncan, provides the Dun of Dunwood, and Phil Westwood's surname provides the Wood of Dunwood. And a few weeks ago, as part of Dunwood's 30th anniversary event held at Warner Leisure Hotel's Studley Castle, Colin announced his retirement. But as you can tell, he may not have retired, and we'll be hearing more from Colin in a moment. I don't think he's quite ready to be sitting in front of the TV watching Lorraine, so there you are. But although that could be a secret. So
absolutely.
So I'm delighted to welcome him to the panel today. And last but not least, Rob Carroll. Rob is head of product with HF Holidays and an ACTO board director. I'm going to have to behave ourselves today. We've got two directors. Chief Executive of ACTO, Wendy Hartley-Scarf, who some of you will know, sadly can't be with us today. But I think we have the stand-ins are better than that. So there we go. And we'll be hearing more from Rob in a moment. I think, let's start with you, Colin. Casting an eye over the wider group travel landscape, and with your experience, you can tell us a bit more about your role now as an ambassador as well for the industry and for Dunwood. The expectations of customers and the expectations of you as a supplier, all of that has changed, and to varying degrees. Sort of, it was changing before COVID, it has changed again now. Where do you feel we're up to? Is the supplier side matching these changing expectations of GTOs?
So good morning, everybody. Yeah, as Stuart said, funny old retirement at the moment. I don't think my phone has ever been so busy. But that's a great question. I come here today, yes, as I have an ambassador's role at Dunwood, but as an independent and a person that his passion that for the last 40 years has been our industry. I seriously believe we work in the best industry anywhere. I think it's a privilege to work in this industry. So I come along today to hopefully share my opinions and a little bit of knowledge that I've picked up over 40 years and so forth. But the question being is that I think that we've seen a diverse change in the industry, and I know it's going to be an obvious thing to say, but the pandemic and COVID has created that change. How Dunwood have worked with that and how we've turned that around is that I can say to you that in 2018, we as a company were at our absolute height, and we had turned around figures, sales, and passenger numbers over 30,000 people a year up to a high level. Then, as you all know, along came COVID and hit us hard. Myself and Phil took a slightly different approach to COVID, and we faced it head on. So many companies, and I will say this, only have themselves to blame, is they put their head in the sand and they didn't really do a lot for their own businesses. We went the opposite way. We made sure that people got refunds. We made sure that people were having access to us. The group organisers, more importantly, could speak to us. So we came back from COVID with tours that started with 12 on the coach, 4-seat gaps, etc., etc. But that loyalty and the way we showed our perspective of how we were dealing with COVID to the group organisers came back and rewarded us. And 2022 seen an even better year for us than what we achieved in 2018. And 2023 has been even better. So I think the point that I'm trying to make is customer service is so important before anything else. Even when you're down, customer service, communication, and working in partnership with your suppliers and with your customers. I think the change in the product itself, as a basic package, we're all looking at the fundamental packages of the coach travel, the accommodation, and the excursions. That is the basics. But the individual packages individually, I believe, are changing and evolving on a regular basis. What I am pleased to say is I believe that the group organisers, a lot more discerning and a lot more knowledgeable, and sometimes more knowledgeable than us, tell us what they want. They're asking for a lot more than what 10 years ago used to be. Book an accommodation, go to Eastbourne and do a trip to Brighton. That's no good anymore. You have to think out of the box. You have to make sure that you're putting a good package together as added value, because we're fighting back from what we've just been through, but the group organisers are also the same, and they're saying, well, the thing that's changed now is our expectations are up here. And as suppliers, tour operators, coach operators, we have to match that. So we're looking for better coaches. You know, I can talk on behalf of Dunwood. We're investing in coaches all the time. And 2 more brand new coaches came into the fleet just in March. In accommodation, we are looking at better standard of accommodation. Yes, the price is higher, but I believe that the organisers, if they see the value, will up that price. I know there's a budget to work to, but we must be looking at better accommodation. Excursions, tours need to be now far more adventurous. Inclusive admissions, inclusive to historic houses, inclusive admissions, boat trips, steam trains, and a lot more, and the use of guides. Guides are fabulous, blue badge guides, and I believe that they are seriously good value for money. When you have, let's say, a coach of 45 people, and it works out about £2 a person, you're getting the historical knowledge of where you are, which, I mean, our drivers are good, but they can't tell you everything about the Abbey or whatever. So what I believe, and I've answered it probably as quickly as I could, Stuart, you know me.
That's good for you.
That yes, it has changed. It's changed for the better. It's more exciting. We have to work for our pennies. But out there is a great market. The UK market is going to be and is as strong as ever. And we just need to tap into it and get that product, provide things like entertainment, making sure that it's not just a hotel. Not all groups want entertainment, but when you go to places like Potter's Leisure Resorts or you go to Warner Leisure Hotels, you get a package that gives you West End shows, cabarets, tribute acts, and again, as you can see, it comes to that added value. So that's the overall package that I think we need
Okay.
to move to.
Thank you, Colin. Let me turn to Catherine. I know you have particular views on how the group travel landscape is changing. Colin's comments, I'm thinking, resonate entirely with where you need to be and what you're doing with your group.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
just talk through how you're finding sort of the group travel landscape at the moment.
Well, pre-pandemic, I was suggesting that groups were changing anyway. I thought that we were losing the company retirement group, that you left your business, you joined the retirement group, someone organised a trip of a coach full of 40 people, because people didn't stay in their jobs for that anymore. People were doing a job here and then a job there and then moving on and changing industry sometimes. And so moving on to a retirement group was not really happening. And people were starting to form their own smaller groups. And I thought that the industry needed to recognise that the landscape of groups was changing and that people could have group travel that wasn't necessarily 40 people on a coach anymore. With the pandemic, it's changed again.
Yeah.
And I feel that people, because we were locked down for so long, were looking for some sort of way of communicating, and we all turned to Zoom. Other options are available. And we all started making connections, not just in our local area, but worldwide. And from that, we've had more groups forming. And these groups are not necessarily in the same geographical area. So the idea of you having a group travel and them all getting a coach from Bishop Stortford is not going to happen. That they're all going to go to Peterborough, but they're going to come by train from all over the country and meet in Peterborough and then have something that happens there. So my idea of the landscape changing, I think it's diversified. I think you can't look at it as we're definitely having a group of people on a coach. But that doesn't mean they're not a group, and it doesn't mean it's not group travel. I also think that people want more, they definitely want value for money. They definitely want very good customer service, and they definitely want something in a package that appeals to their members. And what appeals to their members can quite often be more of an interactive thing. Like you say, not just getting a coach and saying, right, you're here in Brighton, look round. They want we're going to Brighton and we're going to do this. We're going to include this, we're going to see this. This is all included in the package. I agree the bit about the entertainment, and I would like to add that the entertainment needs to be updated to match the ages of the people.
Agreed.
When I first started this, we had hits from the Blitz.
Yeah.
Not my age, I'm an 80s disco person. And it was wonderful to see at Dunwoods that you had a silent disco.
Yeah.
I mean, silent disco. It's really updating what you're offering. It's offering things that are more relevant to the people that are going on these trips now. There is another group I know that have stopped offering you a small sherry and now do a Prosecco reception. I mean, it's the updating it, it's changing what you're offering and saying, yes, I recognise that things have moved on a bit.
Spot on.
Yep, it all makes sense. And I think, Rob, in your case, for HF Holidays, which you can explain a bit about what HF Holidays is there an opportunity to reflect these changing expectations in the product that you deliver? Because you're obviously welcoming individual self-drive as well as groups, but then we mustn't, self-drive and groups, they aren't different things. You can be a self-drive and then become a group when you turn up. So how are things changing in your world?
Okay, you're quite right. How do I follow that? I think Colin and Catherine have pretty much said it all. What a period to live through. What a time to be alive over the last few years. We've all been through something, and I'll explain a little bit about HF to begin with, because we're not well known. We should be. We've been around for 110 years. We're one of the oldest tour operators in the country. Now we're a members organisation, so we're not just there for our customers, we're there for members. So it's absolutely vital during that COVID period that we looked after our members and we refunded. They're not just customers of ours, they've invested in what we do. And I'm just the babysitter of the product of HF for a few years. It's something much, much bigger. The legacy is that we want it to live for another 110 years. In terms of groups, I absolutely agree with what's been said before. Catherine and other GTOs are so savvy, they do understand. We've all seen our bills rise. We all know the challenges that we've faced with HF as a tour operator, but also as an accommodation provider. We've got 16 country houses that we upkeep for our members. So yes, sure, we've been through a period where houses in very remote locations, let's say Glencoe, someone in the kitchen's come down with COVID. The whole week's wiped out straight away. There's no alternative. It's been incredibly challenging. But what's come out of it is that, for sure, prices have gone up. We understand that, and we believe our GTOs understand it too. They're savvy. But what's really, really important is that we feel that where people may have booked 3 or 4 holidays in a year before, maybe they're booking 2 or 3 now. What's really, really vital is with rising prices that we provide value for money, and that's what Collins talks about, and Catherine as well. That's absolutely vital, but it's quality. It's has to be at the forefront of everything that we do. It's quality, quality, quality. We have to get it right, otherwise there are lots of providers out there. These great people won't come back. So that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to talk about was sustainability. Now, we ask our members what's the most important thing to them, and the first thing they always say is that we look after those houses, those properties, which are our legacy of our history. The second most important thing always is sustainability. They want us to become more sustainable, and we are battling to do that as a society. Just a few examples of things that we're doing in response to our membership. We've installed electric charging points at every house that we have, apart from one which doesn't have a car park. We provide, now I didn't mention, we're a walking holiday operator. Now that's quite important. So we provide packed lunches from the houses in the UK. And we've done a lot of work to ensure that all packaging within those packed lunches is now biodegradable. We've changed our power contract to ensure that we're buying now from 100% renewable sources. What else are we doing? We're introducing more rail travel, which anyone who knows me knows that's quite important to me from my background. So more sustainable form of travel as well. We're using local guides, local leaders where possible too. Was there anything else? Yeah, and the last thing is that we're trying to operate and design more walks from the houses themselves, so we're not using transportation. So sustainability is the other thing which has really, really changed, I think, in the post-COVID landscape.
Lovely. Thank you, Rob. Catherine, the issue of sustainability as a GTO, when you're putting together thoughts for where you would go with your group now, in a specific sense for yourselves, is what an attraction or a supplier, what they're doing in terms of demonstrating move towards greater sustainability, is that growing in importance, or is it the experience still that is the overriding element?
I think the experience is the overriding element, but certainly sustainability comes into it. it wouldn't necessarily stop you going there, but you would certainly favour ones that do have a sustainability yeah, they would definitely get your vote more than the others.
Okay. I think what I'd like to do in the time that we have, and I've just realised we've got single-use plastics on the table.
Yeah.
And I think for another year,
I'm not using mine, by the way.
bring your own water bottles. But anyway, we have a roving microphone. If you have a question you'd like to ask, put up your hand, and if you have a question, we'll come to you. Wait for the microphone to come to you, and then do tell us who you are and who you represent. Has anyone got a burning question, first of all, that they'd like to put to our three panellists? It's always like this, isn't it? So
Yeah.
It is. Lady at the front, wait for them. It's coming in.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm actually here independently. I'm retired and I've done a lot of independent travel, but I'm looking to do travel with groups, but as an independent person. And I'm finding it very difficult. Yes, there's a lot of group travel if you belong to a group to go and travel, but it's finding places or ways of joining up with groups somewhere, and as a single person not getting hit with a phenomenal single supplement.
Thanks for that.
It's a good point, yes.
Yeah. It certainly is something that Dunwood come across your circumstances quite a lot. Again, I can talk with my Dunwood hat on, and that is that we have independent travel shops as well as obviously our main group head office. And we do get a lot of people that come into the shop and say, is there a group that's travelling or a group that I can join? Because as we mentioned, the dynamics of groups have changed from, just social groups. I mean, you have groups for so many different things, groups of friends and so forth. So what we tend to do is we say to the person, because we have such a good relationship with our group organisers, and we'll phone and say, look, we have a lady or a gentleman here. Is it possible for them to join your group and be, as a member? And 9 times out of 10, that is successful. Your point about singles, well, 40 years in this industry, I have fought hotels over single rooms for many years, and I've had fallouts with hotels. I've had great relationships with hotels. Yes, I understand if you have a hotel that's owned by Joan and she has 27 rooms, if she gives us more than 4 singles, then her occupancy and overall budget for what she's trying to achieve will go down. But on the other hand, there are a lot of very sizable hotels that will put conditions on and so forth. So we negotiate as hard as we can at Dunwood because we have to look after the ever-growing single population. The industry has to face it. Quite often in this industry, we only want the best parts, the nice parts and the easy parts. And singles have to be included within the allocation. So we won't work with a hotel unless we have a number of singles without supplement. And then if a supplement's going to come in, then we work on a negotiated single that we're hoping everyone will be happy with. But it's an ongoing issue that is a very good point and a good question.
It's a very good question. I think, Catherine, with your group, you will have some members who are single travellers.
Yes,
are you
we do.
finding hotels now are, Colin almost is an exception. If there are more Dunwoods in the world, and yes, it's a nice plug for Dunwood, but
Yeah, I understand.
it's I think what you're doing is really good. Are you finding, Catherine, that isn't reflected elsewhere, or is it beginning to change?
I haven't noticed it changing, I must admit, no. That they will still add quite a hefty supplement for singles. And it's not just things like accommodation either, that things like escape rooms will charge you more if they have smaller groups. And it's things where they can't, they could fit in 50 people and they could do it really cheaply, but they can only take 10 people, so they're going to charge you a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
And Rob, for HF Holidays, do you wish to comment on the single-person situation? I imagine there are a lot of people who are very happy to go on walking holidays, but want to do it, turn up on their own, but then join a group, of course. So.
Happily, two things really. So, first of all, I've worked for a number of tour operators, and one or two which had the practice of marking up single supplements. So, in effect, you've already paid for the price of your holiday, and also there's extra profit going to the tour operator by marking up that single supplement which has been charged by the hotel, which really leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And wherever I've been in charge of pricing, that's certainly never happened. We've only passed on a cost from a hotel to a single traveller. So that's the first thing. I won't name any of those companies, obviously, but back to HF. Solo travellers are part of our culture, and always have been. The HF experience in one of our houses is sociable. You're a community. You're arriving independently, unless you're coming as a group. You eat together. There are no tables for 2 or 4 or 1. There are tables for 8 in all of the houses, and we mix people up every evening. It's a communal experience. It's a communal dining experience, and there's usually some kind of sociable activity after dinner as well, which you either join or you don't, dependent on how interested you are in that activity. So the actual experience for single travellers in our houses, I think it just puts you at the heart of our culture. Secondly, for sure, we have single rooms, and there are a number of single rooms on every date that don't have a supplement at our houses, because we can control that. It's when you're contracting independent hotels, other partner hotels, where you don't always have that control, and you need a great negotiator like Colin.
Lovely. Thank you. Do we have another question? We're coming to the end of our session. I think what I'd like to do then is just ask each of you in turn if you had one wish that could be granted in terms of improving the whole, we keep saying the group travel landscape, but is there one thing in your respective worlds that you wish could happen over this next year? Colin?
I think probably, if anything, overall confidence is really needed across the whole sphere of the tourism industry. Yes, I paint a good picture at Dunwood, but there are a lot of organisers, clients out there that still have a weary sense about, is this hotel safe? Is this coach company safe? So I really hope that confidence builds across the whole industry for everybody, and I think everyone then will benefit even more.
Okay. Catherine?
I'd like to see suppliers recognise the different types of groups and to liaise with the different types of groups, and I think that AGTO is the great way of doing that. Plug for AGTO. Because it brings together both GTOs and associates and gets a platform for them to talk to each other and to actually say, this is actually what we want, and can you supply it? And for them to say, this is what we supply, is this what you want? So I think a dialogue between the two parties would be a good thing.
Okay. Rob?
Simply some stability in the world. I think we could all use a more stable environment in which we carry out our business.
Okay.
I think that's very true. One thing to note, that if you're a supplier in the hall now, and you'd like to get involved with, consider becoming an associate member of AGTO and reach GTOs through the AGTO process, go and visit the AGTO stand, which is stand number I don't know.
David?
I don't know. Anyway, but we're here, or
Be
we're here.
letters.
Go and have a chat with the guys there. A reminder that in a moment, Roger Bailey will be here to talk about, as a Blue Badge guide, talk about highlights in Coventry in the heart of England. But for now, would you like to give your thanks, please, to Rob and Catherine and Colin? Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.